The year is 1997. Mysterious floating lights were seen hovering above Phoenix, Arizona, and it would go down as one of history's most well-observed and documented UFO sightings of all time. And 20 years later, they made a found footage horror movie about it. Welcome back to where I talk about movies you may have forgotten about or just never knew they existed in the first place. Today, we're talking about Phoenix Forgotten from 2017. Directed by Justin Barber, acclaimed director of... I guess this is the only movie he did. It's a story about a sister trying to figure out what happened to her younger brother when he went missing during the mysterious Phoenix Lights incident of 1997. And I know what you might be thinking. 2017 might be a little late to the found footage horror movie trend, but I thought it was a breath of fresh air. Yes, it is heavily inspired by the Blair Witch Project, and we'll get to that later, but for the most part, it is just a documentary. It is a edited documentary, not just raw found footage. We found this in the forest, and here's the undoctored footage. No, this is actually edited to be a documentary.
It seems like they left the car here intentionally.
What do you mean, intentionally?
Oh, the car was parked perfectly in line, so it didn't seem like they were in a rush or anything. Doors were locked. We didn't find the keys.
It was functional. It ran. It wasn't like it ran out of gas or the battery died out there. They were able to start it up.
So I think the best way to watch this is with the expectation of just watching a true crime documentary, not necessarily a horror movie. We follow two timelines in the film, the first one being present day, where we follow Sophie, younger sister of Josh, who is trying to figure out what happened to him by going through various sources, experts, and archival footage. The other storyline follows these three teenagers, Ashley, Josh, and Mark, as they use their camcorder to try and figure out what the truth is behind the Phoenix Lights. And this is what separates it from other found footage horror movies, is that it follows a non-linear timeline. It's not like, okay, we're entering the woods, we're lost in the woods, we die in the woods. It's following all these different people around, getting their side of the story, also while tracking these people's story. Sophie's story is very much the grounded documentary feel, while you could probably assume that the camcorder found footage stuff of these guys are more horror elements. But the Sophie story is actually what really grounded the movie for me. Specifically the part where Sophie is interviewing her parents, who are now divorced, and she asks them if Josh's disappearance had anything to do with the divorce, and as you can see, that their son going missing has taken quite the strain on their marriage. I have to give heavy credit to the actors because all the scenes feel really lived in and all the characters feel authentic. Pair that with the documentary style of shooting, it doesn't feel like a movie scene where the actor has their dialogue and their objective and they're going through the lines. It feels like people just talking in their living room and a daughter talking to her mom, and you just are there witnessing it. This movie is pretty tight, only at 87 minutes long, and the first 2/3 of it basically feel just like a true crime UFO documentary. And as the last 30 minutes, well, that's when the horror starts. Up until the last 30 minutes, you've been following Sophie try and gather evidence about what happened to the disappearance of her brother, but then she finally finds the missing clue. She finds a tape from a missing camcorder that these kids were using, and then the rest of the 30 minutes of the movie is what is on that tape, and basically is more of your standard found footage horror movie. This is where the Blair Witch Project parallels really show, because the last 30 minutes are just three teens, one girl, two boys wandering around and getting lost, but instead of the forest, they're in the Arizona desert. They're arguing, they don't have any water, the compass is broken, and they don't know which way the car is. So yeah, it's pretty much like Blair Witch. But now you throw in the angle of a love triangle where Josh has a crush on Ashley, but Ashley kind of likes Mark. And Mark maybe kind of also likes Ashley, but Mark and Josh are friends, and so he was like, what the heck, man? And it's a thin little B story, but it's nice that it's there. This desert sequence is probably everybody's favorite part of the movie because that's when it starts really getting scary. And the way they shot some of these desert scenes is actually pretty interesting. The director would literally just give them a camera and walk away because he didn't want it to feel too, directed by a director. He wanted to feel raw and natural. And that means these three actors had to be in character for over 30 minutes at a time, just wandering around the desert talking to each other. They had to establish the drama that was going on at their school and all their classmates' names, so when they're talking to each other in these really long takes, they all know what they're talking about, and I think that's really cool. I won't spoil the ending, but I will say the last 30 minutes is actually pretty scary and kind of got to me, especially if you're watching it alone, dark, at night, like I was. Justin Barber shows he can't only direct a documentary, but a horror movie as well. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I remember the marketing for this movie pretty much kind of everywhere in movie theaters and on YouTube, but then when it came out, it only made $3.6 million, which is okay because it had a $2.8 million budget, so it got its money back. And when it did come out, it did receive pretty negative reviews, and I can only blame that on the marketing and expectations because the trailer makes it look like a horror movie, but in actuality, it's a documentary with 30 scary minutes at the very end. In conclusion, the documentary aspects makes this movie stand out against all the other kinds of movies in this found footage genre. We actually get to spend time away from our quote-unquote main characters, and we get to see their parents, and their parents grieve them going missing. We get to see the police department try and look for clues and continue the search. And overall, I just think this adds another layer of emotions and connection to these characters, which I found very effective. So I would definitely recommend this movie. Go check it out. Go into it with the mindset of just watching a cool true crime documentary. I'd even say it's a fun idea to maybe show your friend this movie who has no idea what it is and just tell them it's a documentary and see their reaction. I think that would be super funny. So yeah, that's the video. This has been me talking about Phoenix Forgotten. If you want to see me talk about other movies that you may not have heard of or forgotten, click on the screen right now, subscribe, and I'll see you guys the next time. Bye.